The lockdown that never ended. It was supposed to be an ordinary Friday afternoon at Ridgeway High School, the kind of day when students watched the clock more than the blackboard. The air buzzed with the promise of the weekend. Teachers dragged through lessons, students whispered about plans, and janitors prepared for an early evening cleanup. No one noticed the dark clouds creeping in from the hills or the way the wind began to howl outside the old brick building. Lena Matthews, a quiet sophomore who often stayed behind to help her English teacher, Miss Ray, was gathering her books when the first announcement echoed through the intercom. "Attention, staff and students," Principal Gardner's voice crackled. "This is a lockdown. I repeat, this is a lockdown. Please follow procedure immediately." Lena froze. The announcement wasn't new, they'd had lockdown drills before. But something about the tone felt wrong, rushed, almost terrified. Miss Ray's eyes flicked toward the door, her hand tightening around her phone. "This isn't a drill, is it?" Lena whispered. Miss Ray didn't answer. She moved quickly, locking the door and turning off the lights. "Everyone stay quiet," she murmured. The handful of students still in the classroom, Lena, 2 freshmen, and a senior, huddled in the corner. The hallway beyond the door fell into eerie silence, broken only by the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Then came the footsteps, slow, heavy, dragging. They echoed down the hall, pausing occasionally, then resuming, like someone limping, searching, waiting. Lena's heart pounded so hard she thought the sound alone would give them away. Miss Ray gestured for silence, pressing a trembling finger to her lips. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. The handle jiggled, once, twice, then, a faint knock. "Miss Ray," a voice whispered. The teacher's breath hitched. The voice sounded familiar. It was Principal Gardner, but there was something off about it, flat, mechanical, like he was forcing the words out through a tight throat. "Let me in," he said softly. Miss Ray stood frozen. Her phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down at the screen. It was a message from the principal. "Do not open the doors. I'm in the office. The lockdown is real." Her eyes widened. Whoever was outside the door, it wasn't him. The handle twisted violently this time, rattling the door in its frame. The freshman whimpered. The knocking grew louder, faster, until it turned into pounding, furious, desperate. Then it stopped, as suddenly as it began. The footsteps dragged away into the dark corridor. For a long moment, no one moved. The building seemed to exhale around them, every sound amplified, the flicker of a dying bulb, the hum of distant wind, the distant creak of metal lockers. Lena glanced at the window. The clouds had deepened, casting the world outside in a cold, gray light. She thought she saw movement near the football field, someone running, or maybe, something crawling. Her phone buzzed. No caller ID. She hesitated, then answered. A whisper came through the speaker. "Lena, get out before it finds you." She nearly dropped the phone. The line went dead. "Who was it?" Miss Ray whispered. I don't know." A crash echoed from the hallway. Something metallic hit the floor, like a locker door being ripped off its hinges. Miss Ray gestured for everyone to move toward the back of the room. Lena helped the younger students crawl behind a bookshelf. Then they heard the announcement again. "This is Principal Gardner," the intercom hissed. "The lockdown has been lifted. You may now return to your classrooms." Everyone looked at each other, terrified. Miss Ray's face went pale. "The lockdown was already active," she whispered. "That doesn't make sense." Then the intercom clicked again, and static filled the air. Through the static came a faint sound, breathing. Slow, wet, wrong. "Come to the gym," it rasped. The line cut out. Miss Ray reached for her phone again, but her hands were shaking too badly to type. Lena helped her pull up the school's group chat. Dozens of messages were popping up from other teachers and students. "Mr. Hall, history, is this real? Who's walking the halls? Nurse Amy. Someone's knocking on the nurse's office door. It's not a student. Janitor Paul. I saw Principal Gardner leave 5 minutes ago. Who's using the intercom?" The power flickered. The classroom went dark. A scream echoed down the hall. Everyone jumped. Miss Ray stood, holding the handle of a broom like a weapon. "We have to move," she said in a low voice. "If the power's out, we can't stay in here." "But where do we go?" Lena asked. "The library. It's got 2 exits. If something happens, we'll have a way out." They opened the classroom door as quietly as possible. The hallway was dim, lit only by the emergency lights glowing red. The air smelled strange, like burnt metal and mold. A long streak of something dark stained the floor, leading toward the gym. They stepped over it carefully. Every sound echoed in the emptiness. A locker slammed somewhere in the distance, though no one had touched it. Lena clutched her backpack like a shield. As they turned the corner, they saw him. A figure standing under the flickering light near the water fountain. He was wearing the principal's suit. But his face was wrong. The features were smeared, like melting wax, the eyes too wide, the smile stretched too far. He tilted his head when he saw them. "Students," he crooned, "you're not supposed to be here." Miss Ray screamed for them to run. They bolted down the corridor. The thing followed, its shoes scraping the floor with that same dragging rhythm. They burst into the library, slamming the door shut and shoving a shelf in front of it. The freshmen were sobbing. Lena tried to quiet them, pressing her finger to her lips. Miss Ray fumbled for her phone again, but there was no signal. The lights flickered once more, and then something began knocking on the library door. Slow, rhythmic. "Miss Ray," it whispered. "You forgot to sign out your students." Lena's mind raced. "There's a back exit," she hissed. Behind the librarian's desk. They crawled along the floor, keeping low. The knocking grew louder, faster. Then came the sound of splintering wood. The door was breaking. Miss Ray pushed the freshman through the back exit first, then Lena. As Miss Ray turned to follow, a hand shot through the broken frame, long, pale, clawed fingers that wrapped around her wrist. She screamed, yanking back, but the thing pulled harder. Lena grabbed her arm, pulling with all her strength. With one last jerk, Miss Ray broke free, leaving deep scratches on her wrist. The door exploded inward. They ran. The emergency lights flickered along the hall, revealing flashes of chaos, chairs overturned, classroom doors swinging open, papers scattered like snow. Somewhere behind them, the thing's footsteps echoed again. Lena spotted the exit sign glowing faintly at the end of the hall. "This way," she shouted. They pushed through the double doors and stumbled into the courtyard. The rain had started, cold and sharp, soaking their clothes instantly. The parking lot was empty. Every car was gone. Miss Ray stopped short. "That's impossible," she whispered. They were all here. Then Lena saw it, the windows of the school behind them. Dozens of faces pressed against the glass. Students, teachers, people she knew. All of them staring, motionless, their eyes black. "Miss Ray," she said weakly. The teacher turned. Her mouth fell open. "Oh my God." One of the faces smiled, a grotesque, twisted grin, and lifted its hand, pointing directly at them. The intercom crackled again, even though they were outside. "You can't leave during lockdown." The doors slammed shut behind them with a deafening bang. Lena screamed. They ran toward the main gate, but the chain-link fence was now covered in something thick and black, like tar, pulsing faintly, alive. When Miss Ray touched it, it burned her skin. "What's happening?" one of the freshmen cried. Before anyone could answer, the ground trembled. The lights of the school blinked, one by one, until the entire building went dark. From the shadows near the gym, something began to crawl out. It was wearing the principal's suit, but its body was wrong, too long, too thin, moving on all fours like an insect. Its face kept shifting, melting between the faces of teachers and students. It was every voice they had ever heard over the intercom. "Lockdown protocol," it hissed. "All must stay. All must obey." They ran again, but every path led back to the school. No matter which way they turned, the courtyard, the field, the lot, they ended up standing before the same brick building. The rain stopped. The air stilled. The world outside the school had vanished. Only the building remained. Miss Ray dropped to her knees, shaking. We're not in the real world anymore," she whispered. "It trapped us." The freshmen sobbed, clinging to each other. Lena stood frozen, staring at the school. The windows were glowing faintly now, one by one. Shapes moved inside, silhouettes of people walking, laughing, teaching, as if school had never ended. And then, through the main doors, the figure appeared again, calm, smiling, clipboard in hand. "Attendance check," it said softly. "We're still missing 4. It looked straight at Lena. She turned and ran into the darkness beyond the fence. This time, she didn't stop. She ran until her legs gave out, until her lungs burned and her vision blurred. When she finally fell to her knees, she realized she was standing in front of the school again, only now it was morning. The sun was rising. The parking lot was full. Students laughed and walked inside as if nothing had happened. Miss Ray stood by the steps, smiling, her wrist unmarked. "Lena, you're late," she said gently. Lena's mouth went dry. "Miss Ray, last night, the lockdown. The teacher tilted her head. Lockdown. We haven't had one of those in years. Lena looked around wildly. Everything was normal. Kids she'd seen screaming hours ago were chatting casually, holding coffees and backpacks. No one seemed to notice her panic. Then she saw the notice board. Ridgeway High Lockdown Drill, October 9, 2015. But the year was wrong. It was supposed to be 2025. Her phone buzzed. A text appeared. Welcome back, Lena. Attendance complete. Her reflection in the glass door flickered, and for just a second, she saw the thing wearing her face, smiling back. Then the bell rang, and the lockdown began again.